There comes a moment in history when a leader must decide, not just for today, not just for the next election, but for generations yet unborn. And right now, we are witnessing one of those moments. This isn't just about paperwork signed behind closed doors or men in suits shaking hands over polished tables. This is about a nation looking in the mirror and saying, we are worth more than what the world has been offering us, and we will no longer be told otherwise. When the talks began for the India-US trade deal, the world was watching. Some expected compromise, others expected silence, but instead we saw something different, something rare. We saw a leader stand tall, his voice carrying not only the weight of his office, but the weight of over 1 billion dreams. And in that moment, the tone changed, the air shifted. India was not asking for permission anymore. India was stating its terms. Now let's be clear, this was not an act of hostility. This was an act of self-respect. There's a difference. Respect says, I see your value and I ask you to see mine. Respect says, we will work together, but we will work as equals. And that is exactly the message being sent, not just to Washington, but to every capital around the globe. You see, leadership isn't proven in the easy times. It's forged in the moments when the easy choice is to nod, agree, and keep the peace, but the right choice is to hold your ground. And when a leader makes that choice, it does something to the people watching. It tells them, you matter enough for me to fight for you. I think about the farmer standing in a field in Punjab, looking at the crops that feed his family and his country. I think about the small business owner in Mumbai, working late into the night to fulfill orders, hoping the trade winds of the world blow fairly on her side. And I think about the young engineer in Bengaluru, building technology that could change the future. This decision touches all of them, because the terms of a trade deal are not just numbers, they are the invisible threads that tie our daily lives to the global stage. And here's the thing about standing firm. It's not just for the benefit of the present, it sends a message into the future. It tells the next generation, you are inheriting a nation that knows its worth. That's the kind of inheritance no amount of money can buy. We've all heard the phrase, don't rock the boat. But sometimes, my friends, you don't just need to rock the boat, you need to rebuild it so it sails on your terms. That's what this is. It's not disruption for the sake of noise, it's construction for the sake of dignity. And I want you to understand, this isn't just India's story. This is a blueprint for every nation that has ever been underestimated, overlooked, or undervalued. It's a signal that the rules of the game are changing, and they're changing because someone had the courage to say enough. There's a beauty in this kind of courage, because it's not loud for the sake of being loud. It's grounded, it's steady, and it's deeply rooted in love for one's people. That love says, I will not sign away your future for short-term applause. That love says, I am willing to stand in the fire so you don't have to. And maybe, just maybe, this moment will awaken something in all of us, not just as citizens of a country, but as citizens of the world. A reminder that power is not given, it's recognized. That equality is not gifted, it's claimed. So as the world analyzes the numbers, the clauses, and the fine print of this deal, I want you to look beyond that. I want you to see the bigger picture. This is about presence. This is about saying we belong here at the table with our voice heard and our hands steady. And to every young person watching, let me tell you this, you don't have to wait until you're in a position of power to live with this kind of conviction. You can stand firm in your own life, in your own choices, in your own worth. And when you do, you change not just your story, you change the story for everyone watching you. Because here's the truth, the world doesn't change when people demand more, it changes when people refuse to accept less. And right now, India is refusing to accept less, and the world is taking notice. There is something magnetic, something almost unshakable about the energy of a person who knows their worth. You can feel it when they walk into the room. They don't have to raise their voice, they don't have to pound the table, and they don't have to throw threats around like confetti. No. They simply stand, and in that stillness, in that calm conviction, every eye turns toward them. That is the kind of power we have witnessed in this moment, because standing firm is not about stubbornness, it's about clarity. It's about being so clear on what is right, on what is fair, on what is just, that you are willing to let the storms rage, you are willing to let the critics howl, and you are willing to risk the comfort of approval just to keep your soul intact. Now, I know some people might say, why not just compromise? Why not take what's offered and move on? But history will tell you, compromise is only noble when it does not cost you your dignity. Because once you trade that away, you can't get it back. You might secure a short-term deal. You might smooth over the headlines, but you will have taught the world something dangerous, that you are willing to be less than what you are, just to be liked. Standing firm is a declaration. It's saying, we will meet you halfway, but we will not meet you at the bottom. And that declaration carries across borders, across oceans, across the quiet spaces where ordinary people are deciding what they will or will not accept in their own lives. Because here's the thing, this moment on the world stage isn't just political theater, it's a mirror. It's showing every individual, every community, every nation that there is a time to bend and there is a time to plant your feet, lift your head and say, no further. And it's not easy. Oh, believe me, it's not easy. Standing firm can feel lonely. The voices around you will try to convince you to back down. The pressure will mount. The temptation will whisper, why make it hard? Just give them what they want. But strength is not built in ease. It's built in resistance. Think about a tree standing in the wind. It doesn't grow strong because the sky is always calm. It grows strong because every storm it survives forces its roots deeper. And in this moment, India is that tree. The winds are strong, yes, but the roots are stronger. And that strength, oh, that strength comes from knowing who you are and who you represent. It comes from remembering the farmer in the field, the worker in the factory, the coder in the office, the child in the classroom. When you know that your stance isn't about ego, but about protecting the lives of millions, you find a backbone you didn't even know you had. That is why this moment matters so much, because when a leader stands firm, it doesn't just impact the negotiating table, it ripples into the hearts of every citizen. It says, you are worth defending. And when people believe they are worth defending, they start living like it. And that is the true power here. Yes, the headlines will talk about tariffs, about clauses, about percentages and trade flows. But behind all that, behind the ink on paper, is a spiritual shift. A shift from we hope you value us to we will make sure you value us. That is a completely different energy. It's the same energy a young woman carries when she walks away from a job that refuses to pay her fairly. It's the same energy a man carries when he says, I won't be treated this way in my own home. It's the energy of anyone, anywhere, who decides their value is non-negotiable. So when we talk about the power of standing firm, we are not talking about a one-time event. We are talking about a lifestyle. We are talking about a standard. We are talking about a choice that once made becomes the foundation for everything else. And here's the beauty. You don't have to be a prime minister. You don't have to sit at a negotiation table in Washington to live this truth. You can begin today. You can begin with the smallest no in your personal life that honors your dignity. You can begin with the smallest yes that honors your dream. Because the truth is, standing firm is contagious. When one person does it, others notice. They begin to believe they can do it too. And slowly, quietly, but powerfully, a culture of strength begins to grow. And that, my friends, is why this moment in the India-US trade deal is about so much more than economics. It's about courage. It's about self-respect. It's about a message sent loud and clear. We will not be diminished. Not now. Not ever. There's a truth I have learned in life. Fairness is not a luxury. It is not a privilege. It is not something we receive only when the stars align or when someone is feeling generous. Fairness is a right. And it is a right that should never be traded away for convenience, for speed, or for the illusion of peace. When we look at this India-US trade deal, the word fair is not just a bullet point in the negotiation. It is the heartbeat of the entire conversation. Because here's what fairness does. It levels the playing field. It says your voice matters as much as mine. Your labor, your products, your contributions have the same weight, the same dignity, the same worth as anyone else's. But here's the challenge. Fairness will almost always have to be demanded. Rarely is it handed over freely. The pages of history are filled with people and nations who had to stand up and say, we will not accept less than what is right. That's where we are now. And I want you to understand something. This stance, this refusal to settle for anything less, is not arrogance. It is not defiance for the sake of drama. It is a statement of equality. It is the act of saying, we see ourselves as your partner, not your subordinate. That distinction matters. It matters for the psychology of a nation. It matters for the soul of a people. Think for a moment about what happens when fairness is absent. Without fairness, deals become lopsided, opportunities shrink, and the dignity of work is chipped away piece by piece. And when that happens, it is always the ordinary people, the ones far away from the negotiating rooms, who feel the loss the deepest. The farmer gets less for his crop. The business owner faces higher costs. The consumer pays more for less. It trickles down in the worst possible way. That's why this isn't just about numbers and percentages on a spreadsheet. This is about the everyday rhythm of life in India. This is about protecting the right of every worker, every innovator, every dreamer to receive the value they have earned. And when you refuse to accept unfairness, something powerful happens. You redefine the rules. You send a message to the world that the days of one-sided deals are over. You say, we are not here to beg for a seat at the table. We are here to help build the table. Now, people will always tell you that compromise is the way forward. And yes, compromise has its place, but not when it comes to fairness. Because the moment you compromise on fairness, you have told the other side that your equality is negotiable. And once you've sent that message, you will spend years trying to unsend it. That's why this stand is so important. It's not just about this deal, it's about every deal that comes after it. It's about setting a precedent that India's worth is not a variable to be adjusted based on the convenience of others. And if you think this is just politics, I want you to bring it closer to home. Think about your own life. Have you ever been in a situation where you were being treated unfairly, but everyone around you told you to just accept it, to keep quiet, to be grateful for what you were given, even though you knew it wasn't right? You know what that feels like. That knot in your stomach, that heaviness in your chest, that moment when you realize that accepting less will only guarantee you'll be offered less in the future. And then you made a choice. You either stayed silent or you spoke up. This moment is India speaking up. It is a nation looking at one of the most powerful countries in the world and saying, we are ready to work with you, but we will not work beneath you. And that message is not only heard in America, it's heard in Africa, in Asia, in South America. It's heard in every country that has ever been told to settle for less. And maybe, just maybe, it will inspire them to say, we deserve fairness too, because fairness is not an accident. It's the product of courage, and courage is contagious. So when the dust settles and this deal is remembered, I hope it's remembered not only for what was signed, but for what was declared, that fairness is not negotiable. Not now, not ever. And when the history books write this chapter, I want them to say this was the moment a line was drawn, not to divide, but to define. To define a new era where respect is mutual, partnerships are balanced, and no nation, no matter how big or small, has to shrink to be seen. Fairness is not given, it's claimed, and today we claim it. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and picture this. A farmer wakes before sunrise in a small village in Punjab. The air is still cool, the fields are damp with morning dew. He walks the same narrow dirt path his father walked, carrying tools worn from years of use. His life may seem far removed from global politics, but the truth is, every decision made at a negotiation table oceans away will ripple all the way to his field. Now picture a young woman in a busy Bengaluru office, eyes fixed on her computer screen, coding a solution that could change how the world uses technology. Her clients may be in New York or London, but her paycheck, her opportunities, her very future will be shaped by the terms agreed upon in that same trade deal. And then think about a street vendor in Mumbai, handing a cup of hot chai to a commuter rushing to work. He doesn't know the details of tariffs or import duties, but when costs rise or goods become harder to get, he feels it. He always feels it. From the most remote village to the most advanced tech hub, the truth is simple. These decisions touch every life. They are not abstract policies, they are threads woven into the fabric of daily living. That's why this stand matters. Because when a leader holds firm in those talks, they are not just speaking for themselves, they are speaking for the farmer, for the coder, for the vendor, for every citizen whose life is impacted by the invisible hand of global trade. You see, it's easy to think of trade as a cold, mechanical exchange, goods for money, services for services. But trade is really about relationships. It's about trust. It's about whether the fruits of a nation's labor are respected and valued. And when those relationships are imbalanced, the weight always falls on the people with the least power to carry it. Standing up in those rooms means saying, we will not allow the weight to crush the ones who feed us, build for us, and dream for us. That's what this moment is about. And I have to tell you, there's something beautiful about a country that understands its people are its greatest asset. Not its GDP, not its skyscrapers, not its military, but its people. The farmer in the field, the teacher in the classroom, the driver navigating a crowded street, they are the heartbeat of a nation. When you negotiate for fairness, you're not just fighting for numbers, you're fighting for that heartbeat. You're ensuring that the village has the same chance to thrive as the city, that the small shop owner has the same dignity as the corporate giant, that every person feels the wind of opportunity at their back instead of a door slammed in their face. From the villages to the world stage, that's the real journey we're talking about here. And it's not just a metaphor, it's a reality. Every export that leaves this country carries the fingerprints of countless hands: the miner who dug the raw materials, the factory worker who shaped them, the truck driver who delivered them, the port worker who loaded them. And when those goods land in another country, they represent not just India's economy, but India's identity. That is why being treated as an equal partner is non-negotiable. Because when the goods and services of a nation are undervalued, so are its people. And here's the thing, this isn't a one-way street. Fairness benefits everyone. When partnerships are balanced, trust grows. When trust grows, trade flourishes. And when trade flourishes, prosperity spreads. This is not about taking from one to give to another. It's about ensuring that everyone has the room to grow, to create, to contribute. The farmer in Punjab may never step into a conference hall in Washington, but his work will be represented there. The coder in Bengaluru may never sit across from a trade negotiator, but her ideas will travel the world because of what's decided there. The vendor in Mumbai may never read a single clause of that agreement, but his livelihood will be shaped by it. This is why leadership that connects the village to the world stage is so powerful. It says, I see you, I see the work you do, and I will make sure that when we speak to the world, we speak for you. That's the kind of vision that transforms a country. Because when people know they're being represented with dignity and strength, they walk taller, they dream bigger, they believe that their life, no matter how small it may seem, matters in the grand design. And my friends, that is how a nation rises, not by lifting up a few, but by lifting up all. From the quiet fields to the buzzing cities, from the smallest shop to the grandest boardroom, this moment is for everyone. And when we stand together, truly together, there is no negotiation, no deal, no agreement that can diminish who we are. There is a rhythm to the world we live in. For decades, maybe even centuries, certain voices have been louder, certain hands have been heavier on the scales, and certain nations have been expected to take what they're given and call it a blessing. But every now and then, the rhythm changes, the music shifts, and in that shift, the balance of power begins to move. Not because someone handed it over, but because someone stood up and said, we will not play by rules that were written without us in the room. That is what we are witnessing right now. This moment in the India-US trade deal is not just a policy adjustment, it is a tectonic movement in the way power is negotiated, shared, and respected on the global stage. Let me be clear, this isn't about one country winning and another losing. That kind of thinking belongs to a world we are leaving behind. This is about partnership. This is about rewriting the understanding that partnerships must be balanced to last, that respect must be mutual to be real. For too long, there's been an unspoken assumption that rising nations should be grateful for whatever terms they're given, that they should play nice if they want a seat at the table. But gratitude and fairness are not the same thing. You can be grateful for the opportunity to sit at the table while still demanding that the table is set equally for all. When India stands tall in these negotiations, it sends a message far beyond its borders. It tells the world that the age of silent acceptance is over. And it tells other nations, especially those who have been overlooked or underestimated, that they too have the right to speak, to set terms, to be heard. That's how the balance of power shifts. Not in sudden revolutions, but in firm, steady moments of truth. Moments where someone refuses to nod along. Moments where someone refuses to sign away their dignity for short-term gains. And yes, there will be resistance. There always is. The existing order does not like to be challenged. There will be voices that say, this is risky. This will upset the balance. This will cost us. But here's the truth. If the balance you're protecting is built on inequality, then it's not balance at all. It's control. And control by one side is not the same thing as stability for all. Shifting the balance of power doesn't mean breaking the table, it means leveling it. It means saying, your strength does not have to come at my expense, my progress does not have to diminish yours. That is the difference between competition and cooperation. And when one nation has the courage to lead in this way, others begin to take notice. Think of it like a domino effect. One stands up, then another, and soon you have a movement that reshapes the entire landscape. Imagine a world where trade deals are not written with hidden advantages baked into the fine print. Imagine a world where every nation, big or small, walks into negotiations knowing they will be met with the same respect they give. Imagine how that would change economies, how that would change relationships, how that would change the very way we think about power. Because power doesn't have to be about dominance. True power is about influence, about the ability to set an example so compelling that others want to follow it. And that is exactly what this moment offers. India is not just making a deal here, it is making a statement. It is saying to the world, we are here, we are equal, and we will engage with you on terms that honor both of us. That's the kind of power that lasts. That's the kind of power that doesn't fade when the cameras turn off or when the signatures dry on a page. And let's not underestimate the ripple effect of that kind of stance. Young leaders in other countries are watching this, activists are watching this, business leaders are watching this, and they're realizing that the balance of power is not fixed. It can be moved, it can be shaped, it can be shared. Shifting the balance of power is not about fighting harder, it's about standing taller. It's about knowing that your worth is not up for debate, and it's about having the courage to say, we will not take less than what is fair, and we will not give less than what is fair. That's how you change the game, not with threats, not with force, but with conviction, with the kind of quiet strength that makes the world lean in and listen. So when history looks back on this moment, it will not just see a trade negotiation, it will see a turning point, a time when the balance began to shift, not because someone gave permission, but because someone claimed their place. And that, my friends, is how a new chapter in global leadership begins. Every leader makes decisions. Some of those decisions are forgotten before the ink dries. Others live for a few years, maybe a decade, shaping policies and headlines before fading into the archives. And then there are the rare ones, the choices that echo across generations. Decisions so rooted in principle, so charged with courage, that they become a permanent part of a nation's story. That is legacy. Legacy is not built in comfort. It's forged in moments of pressure, when the easy road is lined with applause and the hard road is lined with doubt. Legacy is choosing the hard road anyway, because you know that applause fades, but dignity lasts. What we are seeing right now with this stance on the India-US trade deal is not just negotiation, it is nation shaping. It is leadership with the long view in mind, the kind that says, I am not only leading for my time, I am leading for all time. Think about it. The children sitting in classrooms today reciting their lessons have no idea that the framework of their future economy is being written right now. The farmer planting seeds this morning may never meet the people signing this deal, but his children will live in the world it creates. The young entrepreneur in a city startup hub might feel the effects in her very first contract years from now, when global terms are fairer, more balanced, more respectful. This is what leadership as legacy looks like. Making choices not for immediate political gain, but for the quiet, lasting good of people you may never meet. And here's something I believe with all my heart. True legacy is not measured by monuments, but by mindsets. It's not in the stone we carve, but in the courage we leave behind. When a nation sees its leaders stand tall, when it sees fairness defended with unshakable resolve, it plants a seed in the hearts of its people. A seed that says, you are worth this, you deserve this, and you never have to settle for less. Those seeds grow into a culture, and a culture of dignity is harder to break than any wall, stronger than any army, more valuable than any resource. This is why moments like this are bigger than they appear. A trade deal, yes, on paper, but in the soul of the country, it's a declaration. It's a promise that the nation will not be led by fear, by desperation, or by the hunger for approval from others. And let's be honest, there will be people who disagree. That is the nature of leadership. You cannot please everyone, but you can serve everyone. And sometimes serving means taking a stand that not everyone understands in the moment, but that they will one day thank you for. History is filled with examples of leaders who bowed to pressure in the moment, only to regret it for a lifetime. And it is just as full of those who stood firm, who bore the criticism, who walked through the fire, and who left behind a legacy that outlived them. This is one of those times. When future generations look back, they may not remember the exact terms of this trade deal. They may not know the percentages, the tariffs, or the fine print, but they will know that in a time when it would have been easier to yield, India chose to lead. They will know that their country claimed its dignity, not as a gift, but as a right, and that will matter. It will matter to the young student dreaming of becoming a diplomat. It will matter to the small-town child who grows up believing that their nation's voice is as strong as any other on earth. It will matter to the world, which will look to this moment as proof that leadership does not have to be loud to be powerful. Because the truth is, the most enduring legacies are not about control. They are about example. They show others what is possible. And when you show the world that it is possible to stand with grace, with strength, with fairness, you give permission for others to do the same. And that, my friends, is how the story of one leader becomes the story of many. How the choice of one nation becomes a turning point for others. How legacy becomes not just a memory, but a movement. So as we close this chapter, let us remember, leadership is not about the moment you are in, but about the world you leave behind. And when the history of this moment is written, it will not just be the story of a trade deal. It will be the story of a nation's rise, a people's pride, and a legacy built on the unshakable truth that dignity is never for sale. That is leadership. That is legacy.